November 16th, 2022. Gemini Exchange halts withdrawals of their Earn program due to some exposure to the FTX exchange. Now, we're in January 2023. Nothing has come of that. But yesterday, Cameron Winklevoss put out an open letter to Barry Silbert. Okay, I'm going to put a link to this tweet in the show notes so you guys could read the whole entire letter. I'm just gonna read the first paragraph of this so that everybody gets a feel for what's going on here. And just for reference for people, right? Barry is the founder and CEO, as you can see, of DCG Group, the parent of Grayscale, Genesis Trading, CoinDesk, TradeBlock, Foundry Services, Luna Global. Okay, anyways. All right, so Barry. Today marks 47 days since Genesis halted withdrawals. I'm writing on behalf of more than 340,000 Earn users who are looking for answers. These users aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet and are real people. A single mom who lent her son's education money to you, a father who lent his son's bar mitzvah money to you, a husband and wife who lent their life savings to you, a school teacher who lent their children's college funds to you, a policeman, and so many more. Altogether, these people entrusted more than $900 million of assets to you. They deserve concrete answers, and we are here to get them. Okay, so, I mean, look, on one hand, right, Cameron is doing the correct thing, for his customers, right? Obviously, it could be argued that having that program to begin with was most likely the wrong thing to do for your customers. I digress. That's not what we're talking about here. We're trying to figure out how bad this fallout really is. So here's an article that we've got from MarketWatch. We're gonna take a look at this. Interesting framing. This has to do with a report out of Messari Capital. So here we go, okay? DCG says the Messari team is one of the most systemically important companies in the crypto ecosystem. There's more than $2 billion stuck at Genesis, whose primary borrower is DCG. According to Messari, the options look pretty bleak. Creditors could strike an out-of-court settlement and agree to a haircut on deposits in return for debt or equity. Genesis, alternatively, could file for bankruptcy, dragging their parent or external creditors through a lengthy process, or DCG could recapitalize. But there's some big questions here. One is whether DCG or Genesis own $700 million worth of Grayscale Bitcoin, Gbtc, right? And that is essentially just paper Bitcoin. It's a way for the boomers to pretend like they're buying Bitcoin, but really they're not. They're just getting a bunch of IOUs. Anyways, and the Grayscale Ethereum Trust, if it's DCG, that's a big asset to borrow against. But if it's already spoken for at Genesis, we might yet see a further rippling out of contagion. Okay, so Messari is claiming that possibly based on the amount of ownership that they have of Gbtc, we may end up seeing further fallout in the Bitcoin exchange price. Another big question is the nature of the $1.1 billion note DCG extended to Genesis and whether it's callable. A callable note would mean that a Genesis liquidation process would put DCG on the hook to repay the full $1.1 billion immediately, says the Messari report. There's also the issue of the FTX bankruptcy. So far, it doesn't appear that FTX or Alameda were creditors of Genesis. If Alameda had loans with Genesis that were repaid after August 13th, they might potentially be subject to the clawbacks, says the Messari report. And finally, there's the issue of Eldridge, which has a $350 million revolving line of credit with DCG. Since they are senior creditors at DCG and Genesis, their incentives are materially different from the Genesis credit holders, who seem much more inclined to strike a deal. Obviously, what we're talking about here is very serious. So let's go take a look at this, the original tweet that started this open letter from Cameron, okay? Here's Barry's response to that open letter. DCG did not borrow $1.65 billion from Genesis. DCG has never missed an interest payment to Genesis. But if you didn't borrow, why would you have an interest? Oh, okay, it doesn't matter. Anyways, and is current on the loans outstanding. Oh, Next loan maturity is May 2023, but DCG did not borrow 1.65 billion. Doesn't matter. DCG delivered to Genesis and your advisors a proposal on December 29th that has not received any response. Okay. So check this out. So Cameron responds back and goes, there you go again. Stop trying to pretend that you and DCG are innocent bystanders and had nothing to do with creating this mess. It's completely disingenuous. How does DCG owe Genesis 1.65 billion if it didn't borrow the money? Oh, right, the promissory note. And I'm sorry, this is just absolutely brutal. This is absolutely brutal. Like, look, they're playing semantics, right? They're just playing with words. And in the meantime, there's real people that are losing money. There's real people that right now don't have access to the money that they saved. Granted, there's a whole other story that, there's a whole other conversation that goes behind, putting your money into these platforms and fully understanding the risks. All right, continuing on that thread, Bitcoin is Saving responded. Great account, by the way. If you know who runs that account, you know. So if you know, you know. Anyways, screwed that one up. Hey, Cameron, stop trying to pretend that you and Tyler are innocent bystanders in this. You built the product at Gemini. You own it. First, make your clients whole. Assume the debt. Re-enable the withdrawals. Then go argue with Barry on Twitter. And I think this account ends it so perfectly. You could have worked on accelerating Bitcoin adoption. Instead, you chose to work on slowing down Bitcoin adoption. That was your decision. You are at fault. Okay. So right now, like I said before, we're watching this war happen right between these two groups. You've got Gemini, you've got DCG, okay, you've got the Winklevi twins, and you've got Barry Silbert. And you have this mysterious $1.6 billion that supposedly wasn't borrowed, but was, isn't owed, but is. So you know what? Look, all of this to say, we're not fortune tellers, right? I know that some of the technical analysis people like to pretend like all of the the fantastic indicators that they're using are predictive of the future and all of that. That's totally fine. I'm not saying all of them do that, but a lot of them speak with a level of confidence that definitely makes you think that they know exactly what's going to happen and what they're talking about. So look, could this mean that there's more fallout for the Bitcoin exchange price? It's quite possible, right? It's quite possible that we continue to go lower. But my personal feeling is that this type of news is, in terms of market sentiment, I feel as though we're coming close, possibly to a bottom, at least in terms of sentiment, where people decide, you know what, I am just so sick and tired of hearing all of this bad news, make this go away. So look, I would say if you're a hodler, right? We're just stacking sats. So we're just looking for opportunities to buy Bitcoin cheaper, to buy Bitcoin anytime we can buy Bitcoin. But look, make no mistake, it does seem like there's still blood in the streets. It seems like there's still some very critical information that is up in the air. I personally think there's another shoe to drop, but what the fuck do I know?